Hey guys, how many times have you had a nice time with your friends, then suddenly your friends talked about elves, goblins, and black cats, and you found yourself, despite your fear, attracted to the story and wanting to hear the story until the end? Or, for example, how many times while you were scrolling through Facebook, you saw a post about an apartment haunted by goblins or a cursed palace, and you found yourself attracted to the post? Or try entering an amusement park, you will find that people are standing in lines in front of the House of Terror and the Train of Death, and despite this, most of them, as soon as the game starts, start screaming and crying and saying, "This is enough." However, once they finish playing, they become pleased and want to play it again. Why did people do this? Why did people like to search for anything that scares them? Is it assumed that fear is a bad feeling and it is natural to avoid it? So what's the story? But first, welcome to this video from one of the curious knights. Self-attraction to the things that fear them is not a modern phenomenon. Humans have been like this since ancient times, and they have this nature. For example, in the early ages, some people were willing to risk their lives for the fun of exploring a new cave or climbing a mountain. Even in modern times, many people enjoy killing in bloody scenes, such as Roman wrestling games, which were played in public places and people watching them. Indeed, when people let their imagination run wild, they come up with terrifying legends that frighten their children. Little by little, stories about vampires, werewolves, ghouls, etc. And so with the beginnings of cinema in the 90s of the 19th century, the subject of people's love for fear and scary stories inspired French director and entertainer Georges Méliès' Tempo experiment and turned these stories into animated pictures. In the year 1896, E.T., the first horror film in the world, The Devil's Palace, was released. The movie was 3 minutes long, but it showed pictures of moving skeletons, mutant bats, ghosts appearing and disappearing, and a black man who was playing the role of a demon. Of course, all of this was of very poor quality and without sound as well. Despite this, the film was very successful. This encouraged many directors and producers to try this type of film, and horror films began to spread all over the world. They began to perform literary classics such as Dracula and Frankenstein to transform them. With time, symbols of horror began to appear everywhere around us, whether in cartoons, games, etc. This increased the popularity of horror among people more and more. But what makes all these people from all over the world agree that they love horror? To answer this question, we need to delve deeper into the human body and know what happens to us when we are put in a terrifying situation. In principle, fear is the main reason that we have not become extinct until today. Because if we were not afraid of anything, we could hug a tiger, play with a scorpion, or jump off a mountain. Therefore, fear is a necessity for life. God Almighty has given us an integrated system that always catches us in situations like this. For example, when we are exposed to a terrifying situation, whether the situation represents a real danger, such as a lion chasing us, the brain immediately translates that a disaster will happen, and the areas in the brain responsible for auditory and visual perception become very active, and the pupils of the eye dilate. The brain also sends signals to the endocrine glands to pump into the blood a large dose of the hormones adrenaline, cortisol, endorphins, and dopamine. This is because adrenaline accelerates the heart rate and helps the blood quickly reach the body's muscles in preparation for running. Cortisol increases blood pressure and expands blood vessels around vital organs to receive the largest amount of oxygen. And this is what makes us breathe quickly when we are afraid. As for endorphins, they are a natural analgesic that is secreted as a reserve if an injury occurs or something happens. As for dopamine, it is what communicates messages between the nerve cells in the brain and the rest of the body's organs. The secret starts from here. Endorphins, their effect is not much different from narcotic substances such as morphine, as they and adrenaline cause a feeling of euphoria and happiness after they are secreted in the body, and this is what makes us involuntarily fulfill the things that frighten us. This is what makes us excited and want to play Death Train. When a study was conducted on 262 adults after they left the House of Horrors, they found that 50% of them felt an improvement in their psychological state after they tried it. This explains why many people, when they are upset or stressed, like to read an entertaining scary novel or watch a horror movie in the desert. It is worth mentioning that it is not only hormones that play a role in people's attraction to fear entertainment, but rather that there are reasons related more to psychology, such as that most people who love this horror have a condition called morbid curiosity. For example, when we watch a horror movie, We want to know how the monster will die. Because in our subconscious, if a monster appeared to us one day, we would know what to do. Since we are safe and nothing will happen to us, we live the experience of danger without any tangible danger. This explains why most stories and films, based on a true story or related to the reality we live in, remain more popular with people. And this is even though they are supposed to be more frightening than any other story or any other film, as what we are seeing is talking about something that happened.